welcome to another episode of Anything and Everything with Donna Lisa. I'm your host, Donna Lisa, and today I have a very special guest with me, Maria Romano. How are you? Welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I am so excited.
So happy to have you here. For the viewers and the listeners out there, Maria is actually a dating coach and a minister of love, and she's also on the board for the Wedding Chamber here in Las Vegas, correct?
Yes, uh-huh.
Awesome. So let's get a little bit into your background, how you got started. Well, I know you're a minister, and you and I actually have worked in the past together in a recent wedding. I want to say it was February of this year. And you and I met through the chamber as well afterwards. And I realized that you were actually a dating coach. So let's talk
Mhm.
let's talk a little bit about that and how you tie it into being a minister as well.
Well, when I started in the industry, as far as being a minister, Donna, this was not something I knew I needed to do something. It was at a point in my life, we had sold our rent-a-car company, and I wanted to work doing something, but I didn't want the same type of industry I was in. Coming from the car rental industry, it's very labor intensive. It was a large company, and I wanted something that was kind of easy and stress free. I went to a friend's wedding ceremony,
Okay.
and there was a woman that was performing it over at the Las Vegas Country Club. I said, you know what? I think I can do that. So it so happens my neighbors are makeup artists, and I spoke to them, and they did a lot of weddings. So I put together like a little press kit. I went and got my officiant's license, and I just started pounding the pavement in my heels in Las Vegas 11 years ago. And it was not easy. I will tell you that. It was not easy breaking into this industry. And first of all, again, you're getting back to, I was in the rent-a-car industry, which was a male-dominated industry. And
Right.
also, 11 years ago, it was still a male-dominated industry in Las Vegas. So that was different. And when I met with a lot of the chapel managers, the chapel owners, the only reason I got hired in locations, and I work with some of the same vendors, I realized, okay, that was the way I broke into the business. And it really took me quite a few years before I worked my way up. And now I just work with a few chapels, a few, different venues, and I also take on privates. But during the course of my life at that time, 11 years ago, my husband passed away
Oh,
almost 9 years ago.
I'm sorry.
So we were married 33 years. He had a heart transplant many years ago, 50. So we were always on borrowed time. I mean, we were
Okay.
fortunate when you get a new heart. And then he got it in 1997. He lived till
Wow.
2012. It was a gift. It was a gift. So I always knew I needed, again, getting out there, and I wanted to keep myself busy. And I was used to working weekends. And this is
Right.
a weekend business as well. So, but after being single, and I'm still single, but after being a widow for a couple of years, and I started thinking, I want to get back out there at dating. And let me tell you something. When you've been married to somebody 35 years, oh my God, okay?
A lot of
It's like a
different
whole,
changes.
it's like Back to the Future. It's life changes. So I made lots of mistakes, trial and true. But you know what? That's when I realized there were a lot of people just like me that were over 50 that, didn't really know what to do, how to maneuver. And not
Right.
necessarily a widow or widower, but in long-term relationships, they get divorced and all of a sudden, wow. And I think too, with COVID that occurred, you also had a portion of people that were maybe a little resistant to dating or dating online. Well, since COVID,
Oh,
and
yeah.
now you have a lot more people out there. So since
Hmm.
then, you can probably see it up over here. I wrote a book, during
Yes.
COVID, going from just one to a plus one for people getting back in the dating world. And that
Oh,
is something I talk about. I help people. But also during COVID, I created an officiant course.
okay.
I have a digital course on how to officiate wedding ceremonies. So I would take people step by step. I give them a framework of how to marry people. And I starting one of my classes on Tuesday, a week from today,
Nice.
they're online, or they can do it on their own, because there's a need for it. And not just here, it's not just a course for Las Vegas. It's a course for all over the United
Okay.
States and, Canada and Mexico. And because of what I went through, like I said, it wasn't easy breaking in. And I want to be able to help people do what I do and do it effectively.
Right.
That if I get a refer, if somebody needs, a wedding ceremony, I can only be in, you can only be in so many places
Right.
at one time. So so it's kind of nice. And I really think the wedding industry's changed in the way of the ministry side in my end of it. Not that, listen, a lot of people love the very traditional type of ceremony, but you have more millennials getting married and younger, and they want something that's not the tradition.
Right.
So I was busy during COVID, and I'm busy now that we're hopefully getting past all this.
So you've been like working on a lot of projects during COVID. That's great. Yeah. So do you have any other future projects lined up now that you have your book out and you've got this efficient course?
Well, actually, I speak about, which I am in the love business, right? We talk about that. I also speak to large groups about loving your way to the top.
Okay.
And what that talk is about, because I come from an industry where you need to make sure that you have great customer service, I talk about creating a great client experience or great couples experience if you're in the industry, and making sure that you're falling in love with your clients by listening, and also falling in love with success. So I keep it in that same trajectory of staying on target, talking about love, but either workplace, professionally, right, or teaching people how to do what I do. So I do have projects I'm constantly speaking and getting out there with different engagements, and I love that.
So you're like a public speaker as well?
Yes.
Okay, nice. Now, let me ask you this. So when you meet a couple and you're getting ready to discuss their upcoming, wedding, and you being the officiant, do you offer them coaching advice on, what to prepare for when they get married, or?
I have not done premarital
Okay.
counseling, and
Okay.
that is something that I will probably add into the mix. But you usually, most of the people I meet, and again, Las Vegas, because we have so many weddings that we do.
Mhm.
So it's the venues that I work out of, with the exception of the private ones that that I've done, I will meet the couple 15 minutes beforehand. So you really
Okay.
don't have time.
Right. Yeah.
But I really work hard at making sure that I incorporate a little bit of how they met, where they met, children, and I incorporate that into the ceremony. And I think
Okay.
that's the difference. You need to kind of still make it unique to them, even though they've just met. I've just met them, I should say.
Right. Yeah. So now, going back to your book, I'm kind of curious to know, how long were you planning to, like, this book before you actually published it?
Okay, so the book I was planning to write in 2018, 19.
Okay.
So when COVID hit, what happened during, 2020 is that's when I started. And I thought it was going to be a very lengthy process. It was simple. I mean, when I say it was simple, I have a coach, I have a speaking coach,
Okay.
but he also helped me with my book, because I don't like sitting in front of a computer and typing all the time. So any of you out there listening, okay, there is a great way. There are a lot of these AI, artificial intelligence programs.
Okay.
I take my microphone, I talk into my microphone, I send it to a Word document, put it together, massage it, and send it off to somebody to edit it.
Wow.
Then the format, then you can put on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, Amazon, you can put it on for free. I have it on print and also in Spanish.
That's good to know.
Hardcover and Spanish as well. And it just talks about dating people, especially if you've been married before, blending families. Okay.
Oh, those are some good
families are
topics.
important.
Yeah.
Right. If you're a widow. So what to expect if you're dating somebody that's a widow or a widower, or maybe you're dating somebody that's divorced, or maybe you're dating somebody that's a high functioning professional. Okay. Who are constantly busy.
Right.
I consider myself to be a high functioning professional with no life.
Yeah. So like having somebody understand, I totally get it. The hectic schedule. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely hard to fit into a dating schedule. I mean,
You have to, you know what?
how do you find time?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and you know what's interesting too, when you're living in this environment in Las Vegas, because
Hmm.
again, the wedding industry, right? So people have a perception, well, are you not off on weekends? Well, no,
Right.
I'm not. I made commitment. And you know, yourself too, when it's wedding season. And of course, there's certain events that you take the time and you mark your calendar and you're there for your
Hmm.
family. But we know when wedding season hits, we have to be there.
Right.
It's
Right.
not 12, I mean, it's 12 months a year, but really we know we have our peaks and valleys in this industry. You know, when we went back in 2020, when they opened up weddings, they deemed weddings to be a necessity.
Right.
So, for example, last year there were 53,000 marriage licenses issued in 2020,
Oh,
which was all right, but that was only 23% down from 2019.
okay.
Okay. This year, okay, this year we're exceeding 2019's numbers. I
Wow.
think this year we're going to hit about 85 or 86,000
Okay.
marriage licenses issued in Clark County. So when the chapels were spooling up, and not just many chapels, they had to go through, of course, a process, and they brought people back to work, but we were still not running at full capacity with
Right.
staff. So the chapels were just trying to book what they can, but it was tough. It was really tough, and we survived it. Now, you know, most chapels have their
Hmm.
staff back to 100% capacity,
Hmm.
and the numbers are just climbing because you know, and as you know, freestanding chapels have a different clientele than your business, for
Right.
example.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I totally get it. A lot of the smaller chapels are definitely, they've actually stayed busy during the pandemic, whereas, my side, the corporate side, has not been as busy. We're just starting to pick up more as we opened up 100% in June and looking forward to the fall programs, which are, already scheduled. But for you folks on the social side, weddings have been keeping you guys busy, which is
Right. And
great.
since we were able to get it deemed as a necessity,
Right.
that was a big thing. Plus, you have to remember too, on your side of the business, you're not just doing the wedding ceremony, you're also, that's the whole event. So we were
Right.
encumbered for a period of time. And we worked also with the county commissioners because we were on them. When are they going to lift the mandate, or when are they
Right.
going to allow at least couples to have their first dance? So it was something we worked very closely with them.
That's awesome. So now what do you enjoy the most about what you do, whether it's the
Uh,
coaching side or, officiating weddings?
Well, I love the officiating side is really what I
Hmm.
started in. So that's something that I do enjoy. And I enjoy enjoy speaking about love, and I enjoy coaching people. And it really makes me feel good when I spoke to a gal not too long, as a matter of fact, the other day, and she had asked me for a little bit of help with her profile and where to put herself online. And she was in her 50s, you know,
Okay.
and I gave her some information. I helped her tweak her profile, told her what, you know, site to go on. Boom, she met somebody.
Nice.
Met somebody. She felt good. But on the other side, I also like working with people that want to become officiants and help them through the process so they feel confident. So that when they walk in and do their first ceremony, it might be rookie confidence, okay? But you really want to give them the tools, because if you ever work with a new officiant,
Hmm.
or somebody that's officiating a wedding ceremony that's a family member, right, that you know that it's not easy, and there's
Right.
a lot of different components.
A lot of
And
pressure.
oh, there is, and
Yeah.
people don't realize it. Just when to have everybody stand and when to have everybody sit. It sounds so simple, but it's important. And this is what happens with rookie people. So I'm always thrilled when they tell me, I did my first ceremony, and if it wasn't for you, blah, blah, it made me feel good. That is what's wonderful. Because I would
Nice.
love to just teach and just take on, you know, eventually just clients that I want to
Right.
perform, and you know, create a whole new you know, generation of officiants.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Now, so it's not just for Las Vegas, is what you said. Are
Right.
there different guidelines and regulations in different states to be an officiant?
Well, there is, and I don't, what I tell them is I cannot ordain them or anything. What I'm
Okay.
doing is teaching the ceremony. So what I have, and
Gotcha.
like any other, and this is what anybody would train you in, any other organization, is you can get your ordination,
Hmm.
which you can get that online, get your licensing, find out what the licensing is, where you live. Now, Nevada is a little bit more stringent because this is a big business.
Right.
So they do regulate us. We have background checks, our license every 5 years. We go through another background check. And I think that's important as well,
Yeah.
because you want to know. And also, you don't want people out there performing wedding ceremonies and signing a license and they're not. It's
Right.
not legal. And that happens. Now, in other states, it's not as stringent. So you
Okay.
can get your license right away, pretty much right away in that whatever area. And boom, then just learn, and you can do it on your own. I mean, you can go to YouTube, but when you have one place that
Mhm.
you can go through everything and have a good structure and a format. I know because I floundered. Believe me,
Right.
I made lots of mistakes there.
But you learn from the mistakes. I mean, that's how you
Absolutely.
learn. Right.
But however, this is what I always say, and we talk about, because one of the things is I noticed your podcast is called Anything and Everything,
Yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
my motto is how you do anything is how you do everything, because it's just
That's
so
awesome.
funny. And I have that. I have that in my webinar series.
Okay.
So, but I tell them is, yes, I made mistakes, but if I had to go back, I really would. I was looking for somebody to help train me. There wasn't
Hmm.
anybody. And I
Right.
had asked a few ministers and they didn't want to train me because they held their business close to their vest. And I get that. It's okay.
Yeah.
But you can't, this industry, when you think about it, when you say the pressure's on. So, for example, when you go in and you have surgery, you don't want to hear the surgeon say you have to do it over, right?
Right.
It's not to, well, in our industry, we don't get to do overs, right? You can't do this. I mean, you can't say, come back, I'll
Yeah.
do another ceremony, or come back, we'll make sure that we get the cake right, or the DJ right, or whatever it is, or the
Right.
so it's really important that we level up. I mean, I know not everything is perfect, but when you really take the time to hone in on your craft and really perfect it, makes a difference.
That's so true. That's so true. Now, I know, I mean, you obviously keep saying you've been busy and staying steady during the pandemic. So, for anybody wanting to get into something new like this, I mean, what kind of advice would you give them? Because there are so many people out there still trying to figure out what they want to do, because you and I both have experienced a lot of our industry colleagues have not gone back to their jobs. They're still trying to figure it out if they want to go back, or, leave the industry, and get into something different. Like, what would you tell somebody if they're looking to get into something different, like, being an efficient? I mean, you obviously came from the car rental industry and just got into weddings, were two completely different industries.
Well, you know what? The main thing is you're always serving a client.
Hmm.
Okay. And I think that's the key thing. And whatever industry you decide to get in, if somebody new were to come to me, and let's say, for example, and you hear this, oh, I'm tired of dealing with people, I'm tired with complaints. Well, I don't know of any industry where you don't have clients, right? Because you need
Yeah.
customers in order to survive. So what comes first, right? The
Hmm.
revenue is not going to come until you get the clients. And I think that's the first thing. So you need to sit down and say to yourself, okay, what do I want to do? What kind of money do I want to make? Do I want to be an entrepreneur, like a sole entrepreneur, a small business? Because there are many people out there, and you really hit the nail on the head, that have gone through the time, they've stayed at home, they're assessing what do they want to do now. And it doesn't have to be somebody that was in the wedding industry. There's
Right.
many people that are going through that. And I think a lot of people enjoyed the fact that they were in charge of their own schedule.
Yeah.
So that's something else as well. What's nice, if somebody would, let's say, interested in becoming a wedding officiant, it does not cost a lot of money to do that.
Okay.
You can do that under $1,000, even with a course. Now, if you want to start advertising and you want to get out there and really, develop a name, you have to again spend a little bit of money and put a website together. But
Right.
then you're not talking a whole bunch of money. So but you need to find your passion. And I think that's the key thing, is you need to sit down and say to yourself, what do you like to do? And
Right.
if it's something that you can get paid for, do it. For me, this is something I fell into. And, I was in my late 50s when I started. So
Okay.
I'm at a point in my life where I've transitioned. There's still a lot of people that are my age in their 60s going, I still want to do something, but I want to
Right.
do something where I'm impactful. And if you're getting in this industry, is probably one of the most rewarding industries because a couple is inviting you. You're their guest, even though they're paying you, you're their guest for their special day. So it's important that you show up and that you give them the best experience, regardless of what's happening in your
Right.
home life, whatever it is, or what happens with something maybe on your way over to wherever you're meeting them. I mean, just, you have to remember it's showtime with
That's so true.
authenticity.
That's
With
so true.
authenticity. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
And
key.
I mean, and you deal with, we've all heard the term in our industry, bridezillas. So you deal with a lot of those too. How do you stay motivated to say you're dealing with a really difficult bride or just a family member of the bride, maybe like their mother, that happens all the time. Um, how do you deal with that and still push forward and go through the ceremony and show and put a smile on your face?
Well, it's interesting you say that because Sunday, there was a wedding over at one of the chapels, and it was a very large package they spent.
Okay.
And the bride did not get picked up in time.
Oh,
4 limos, but the bride did not get picked. Supposedly, this was the story. So obviously, you have family waiting. They said the bride's crying.
oh
So
no.
the sister-in-law and the sister of the bride definitely got a little bit out of order. They turned
Wow.
around and I said, well, when she gets here, we'll sit down, we'll chat with her, have some meetings. Oh no, you're not going to chat with her. And I said, excuse me. I said, I realize right now everybody is, a little passionate about how they feel. I said, but I'm the minister. So I really need to talk to him. And they will back up automatically.
Oh,
So I
good.
don't usually have, and when the bride came, she was just wonderful. I think everybody else is the one that
Right.
their feelings, their emotions were going. And things like this, unfortunately, this does happen, but you need to then have to have good service recovery.
Hmm.
So she came between myself, the photographer, the coordinator. She was smiles. She was all smiles. I would not, sometimes in some chapels, they recommend you cut the ceremony short because you have another one. Gave her the best experience. That's what I feel. Give them the best experience. Go on to the next one. If the next one's a few minutes late, it's a few minutes late, but I'm
Right.
going to give you the same client experience, a couple that I'm giving each and every client. And I think that's something you just have to, and I have days, let me tell you, Donna, I have days too, where I'm going, oh, I just put a smile on and say,
Right.
okay, I could be working for somebody and that's not what I want to do.
Right.
So this is what motivates me.
That's awesome because you're right. I mean, I've never seen you have a bad day, but I'm sure you do have bad days. So, yeah, it's definitely tough. And weddings, I mean, I work both social and corporate events, and the social events for sure, weddings are very emotional.
Mhm.
It could be, like you said, just anything can upset the bride, not just the bride, but their family members as well. So, whereas corporate clients, it's not so emotional for them if something goes wrong. If, the dessert's not set up yet, it's fine. They're
Well,
okay.
they are more flexible, but
Yeah.
again, a wedding ceremony, they have a timeline and which usually is what it's all about as
Right.
well. And that's okay too. And sometimes they ignore the timeline, so it doesn't matter.
That happens too. I know the wedding you and I were on, you
Oh,
do
yeah.
mention how you have a schedule, and I think that wedding was running almost an hour
Yes.
behind, I remember, and you were like, I've got another ceremony to go to, and yeah. So thank you for being flexible with
No, I
that.
said, okay, well, and that was a vow was it a ceremony? Was that
It
a
was a
vow ring?
ceremony, but I
That's
think they
right.
had been together for so long and had children, but they finally, tied the knot. Yes.
And I married their sister, her sister.
Yes,
That's
that's
what it
what it
was.
was.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, it was wild. I mean, it was,
Yeah, and I think that was one of the days where remember the
the weather
weather
was,
was
yes.
very, yeah, it was windy, and so you had to like kind of rush through as much as you didn't want to, just so that all the guests
Oh,
could get back into the home because it was crazy windy
it
that
was
day.
crazy, windy and
Yeah.
cold, which we did
Yes,
not expect.
that's
Poor,
right. It was cold. Yeah. So good job for on that. and I had a small team helping me kind of just bring in all the chairs and the tables and reset everything, which was fun. But it's always something different with weddings. It never goes as scheduled, so it's okay. You just kind of work through. We're like problem solvers.
Well, exactly. And you have to, I think the key thing is anybody in the business or any business, you have to remain calm.
Right.
Because if you react, if you react in a way that you panic, and people are looking to you to actually be the strength, the person that's going to solve the problems.
That's so true. Now, just curious to know, I always ask all my guests this, is there a daily affirmation or a quote that you like to start your day off with?
Well, I have a quote that I put on a lot of my emails. It's don't live your life. Don't just live your life, love your life.
Oh, I saw that when we were emailing. Uh-huh.
Right. I do
like
that. And and in the morning, you know what, I have to sometimes, I think we have to step back because, we all want to be successful, right? We all want that instant flow of money and that instant flow of success and that instant flow of extra time. And, it takes time. It doesn't happen. Rome wasn't built in a day, right? And it takes time to do that. So I have to remind myself, and I really do this in the morning, is I thank God for my health. That to me is the most important, because you can have all the money in the world.
Right.
I mean, look at Steve Jobs, who had, right. And I just thank God that I have my health so that I can, share my talents. And I think that's the key thing is anybody out there listening, you all have a gift, and your gift needs to be shared with others. So find your gift, find your passion.
Right. And especially right now, talking about health, a lot of people are, with this new Delta variant going on. Definitely take care of yourself. I agree.
Oh, absolutely. So I had COVID in November, then I got vaccinated February and March, and I've really been diligent and taking my vitamins. That's what my doctor says, take your zinc. Okay.
Yeah. And then when you're officiating a wedding, do you still require, I know they're going back to the mask mandate. Are you still requiring that, or do you allow the couples to not? Because it's awkward for some folks to have wedding photos with the mask on. And I know that's the question that they always ask.
So what's happening with the chapels, and what happened even when we all had the mask mandate, we wore masks.
Okay.
But the couples don't wear them. And the reason they were able to work around that legally is we have to hear them say, I do. Gotcha. We have to see them, not hear them. So that's the difference. And in the chapels, we have, it depends how you feel. You can either wear a mask during the ceremony. Before the ceremony, the pre-meetings, we're all wearing masks.
Okay.
But in some of the chapels, you don't have to wear your mask. And I think it just depends if there is a very, and really the photographer's not focusing on me.
Right.
The photographers and the videographer too, they're focusing on the couple. So I think it just depends. If I have a very large wedding party, sometimes I will be a little cautious and wear a mask. But in the meantime, I'm just hoping, I'm just thrilled that people are booking Las Vegas.
Yes.
That the destination weddings are still on the uptick.
Absolutely.
And that has been, I think, the biggest game changer for people. We just didn't know. We didn't know that we were going to have, so many people come back. I just had 2 couples that I married just a little while ago. They were staying at the Venetian in Palazzo. They said it was packed.
Oh, really? Nice.
So it's nice.
Well, that's great. So where can people find you? Do you have a website and on social media?
I've got a website. I do 2 podcasts a week, one for Wedding Wednesday and one for dating. So relationships, I do those, and they go on YouTube as well. But I'm on True Love Knots. So it's TrueLoveKnots.com. If you have a question, whether it's officiating, dating, send me a message. I'd be more than happy to get back to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Maria, for taking time out of your busy schedule to do this. I know we've been going back and forth and trying to get a date set, and it's nice to see that you're busy. So, being able to schedule time out, in the evenings is great. And I appreciate you sharing all this information with everybody listening in right now and the viewers. I will have this video up on YouTube. So I'll definitely share your website. Do you have an Instagram handle or a Facebook page?
I do. I have
Okay.
Instagram. It's also at True Love Knots as well. And you'll find me
Okay.
on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, every
Awesome.
place you can think of. Yes. And thank you. Thank you for giving me
Yes.
the opportunity to share what I
Absolutely.
have with your listeners. So
I
I hope
definitely
they got
have
some.
to, yeah, no, I definitely have to look at your book. I
Oh,
have a lot of friends that are in the dating scene right now and would love,
okay.
yeah, would probably, benefit from that. So thanks for sharing that.
No, not a problem. Going from just one to a plus one. That's the name of the book.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Maria. You
Thank
enjoy the
you.
rest of your evening, and
You
I'll
too.
see you soon at another event.
Yes, I'm going tomorrow night. I'm going to another one.
Awesome. Okay. Have a good
Bye.
night.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.